All right, folks, welcome back to the Krueg Show. Happy Sunday to everybody, except for the Warriors, I guess, because the Nuggets extended series. Larry Krueger, joined by Ryan Smith, Cyrus Saatsaz. It's the Krueg Show after Warrior basketball. Game 4 goes to the Nuggets, and we will see a Game 5 Wednesday night in San Francisco at the Chase Center because Denver gets a 5-point win at home. Let's talk a little bit about this one, guys. Golden State's primary weakness is that they foul too much and that they turn it over too often. This game was interesting. Monty Morris came alive in the third quarter. We did see Jonathan Kuminga, and just Denver, might have gotten the benefit of a number of calls. I thought Draymond Green played exceptionally well. But Denver was more efficient down the stretch. And ultimately, the key play, Jokic found Barton in the corner for the dagger 3. Steph was late on the closeout. 126-121. Denver will not be swept. And the series goes back Wednesday night to the Chase Center for Game 5. Rye, why don't you guys jump in? Cyrus, why don't we start with you? Give me your impressions on this one.
I have a lot, man. I mean, the first things first, it's been a while, a good few weeks, maybe a month since I've had criticism for Steve Kerr, but there was a lot to question in tonight's game. For starters, why was Gary Payton II only playing 7 minutes? Why was he not in there at the end when Draymond Green fouled out? Why is Jonathan Kuminga? I mean, you finally play him in this series, but you play him at an awkward time when the stakes are high, they're down, they're battling officials. And then in the late third, early fourth, whenever they had this lineup out there that included Andre Iguodala, with the splash party, whatever we're calling that, the 3 players, why not bring Kuminga for that moment? It was just very poorly timed in that regard. And Kerr it just didn't make sense. What Kerr was doing tonight, I mean, you're up 3-0, but you're in a hostile environment. So you want to step on their throats and take command as soon as possible to eliminate any hope, take all the momentum, and then finish this thing off in the second half. And they started strong, but I have a lot of issues. For starters, why is Draymond Green not guarding Jokic at all in the first half? For some reason, he gives this assignment to Looney, who has failed miserably at guarding Jokic. He's utterly incompetent at the job. He's ineffective at the job. He's inefficient at the job. He cannot guard Jokic. Jokic schools him left and right. You have Looney playing him for nearly the entire first quarter. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the quick trigger on Klay Thompson. He picked up a second foul in the first quarter despite having a hot hand. Still finished the game with 32 points on 7-11 shooting from 3, but again, you want momentum and you want to blow this team out at the beginning when you're up 3-0 in a series. The last thing you want to do is give them a shot. Now, here are all the notes I took. I don't sit there and take notes during games a lot, but in a game like this, I started noticing a lot in terms of the officiating, and it felt very one-sided. It was 12-2 in favor of the Nuggets in terms of free throw attempts after the first quarter. It would have been 14-2 had Steve Kerr not challenged that call on Stephen Curry. It was a ridiculous call where Jokic just plowed right through him. He was literally not moving. Steph was just standing there, had complete position. Jokic just barrels through him. They called it a foul on Steph because of that. And Kerr had to challenge it because he was about to have Stephen Curry pick up his second foul. So it would have been a 14-2 free throw discrepancy in the first quarter. It was 23-12 at the end of the half, if I'm not mistaken. But there was a lot here that I have to call out. I mean, for starters,
Golden State's, just to interrupt you for a second, Golden State's bench shot 2 for 14 in the first half. I thought that was a key factor as well. I mean, nobody coming off the bench could hit a shot in the first half. Go ahead.
Who are you playing? Like they play. He gave 5 minutes to Bjelica, who's been playing great this series. Like why? Like I don't understand why are you cutting Bjelica's minutes? Why are you cutting Gary Payton II's minutes to 7 for the entire game? Like, is he hurt? Did I miss something there? I do not understand that. And then you bring Kuminga in at just a very awkward time in the game. You give him 11 weird minutes, and he was actually efficient. I would have liked to see him more, but the timing of his play was this whole thing was weird. I don't know what was going through Kerr's head. I really don't. I mean, could you explain to me why Gary Payton II got 7 minutes? Can you explain to me why Bielitsa only got 5 minutes when Bielitsa's clearly outplayed Kevon Looney in this series? Could anyone explain that to me? Because I'm stumped. I don't like being stumped from coaching decisions. I don't like that when you cannot explain it. Can anyone explain that?
Bielitsa was getting eaten up a little bit by Boogie in the last game, but I agree with you. I think he should have got more minutes.
I mean, 5?
He's the veteran. I mean, he's the veteran. He's also a shooter. I mean, I thought he would get more minutes in today's game. That the only thing what Rye just stated there was that Cousins was abusing him in the last game. Maybe that Kerr had that in the back of his mind. I thought Jordan Poole was the key factor too. I mean, Poole's been going for 30. What do you have? 11 in this game, 9 assists. It's like Denver found a way. Now, whether it's what they did or what Golden State did, but Jordan Poole was neutralized. He finished the game with 11. Finally, Denver got out on the break. They got 15 fast break points. I thought that was absolutely huge. The Golden State had negated them in transition the entire series. And then suddenly today, Denver 15-11 on the fast break points. I thought Denver got the advantageous whistles in the first half. As Cy said, there was a huge foul disparity. Golden State, I think, shot 10 less free throws in the first half.
11,
Yeah. And Denver had a 12-3 break in the fast break points just in the first half alone. And then also Denver, this is a Denver team that really struggles to score. And yet they get the big day out of Jokic, 37, 8, and 6. But then 21 for Gordon, 24 for Monty Morris, 10 for Boogie, 15 for Bones Highland, who had a huge role in the second quarter. So
those deep threes.
I just felt like
I
just felt like Golden State's transition D wasn't as good. They also let a number of different scorers get involved. And I think we saw tonight that is the most that Denver can score. And still Golden State was right there with them at the end.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the series is over. I mean, the Warriors
series is over, but this game, the series should have been over today.
Really should have been. I was honestly ready to make a whole propaganda push for the Warriors to go straight to Hawaii and just take a few days off. And that's a pipe dream now. But it's ridiculous. And Ryan, I'm sorry, man. I don't want to cut into your time. I'm sure you got opinions. Go for it, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
I'm kind of I'm a little glass half full on this. I kind of love the way the Warriors played today. Honestly, like they were really showing that kind of championship mettle. Like every time the Nuggets would try almost pull away, we would just keep coming. But the unfortunate thing is, we all expected there was going to be one game like this in Denver where all the role players, are hitting shots. And it was so frustrating, man. I mean, on the Warriors side, it was like Clay was locked in, Draymond was locked in, Steph started to get locked in. They were making threes, doing all this great stuff. And it just seemed like every time, like Denver would just go down and they'd stripe a three or they'd get fouled and kind of, stifle the rhythm. But the fact that they got back in the game and it's so unfortunate because I think we all felt like after Curry made that long two, we had it. That was it. And then, man, Wiggins almost gets that putback. That would have been incredible. And then, I don't know what you guys thought about. I'm sure that you feel the same way. The way the game was being officiated, awesome. I don't think that strip on Aaron Gordon should have been a foul call.
I have a list right. I'm gonna present a list of different plays.
Sorry, one last thing. So Draymond gets that sixth foul on that play, and that's 2 points for Denver. But if you saw at the end of the game, we got Otto Porter Jr. doing that inbounds play, and normally that's Draymond. Draymond doesn't make that mistake. He doesn't leave it. He doesn't leave that pass short. Also, did you see Jokic on TV calling out that it was going to be? He was like gesturing, like doing the like essentially saying like a lob's coming, which is interesting.
That was a bad pass. That was just a horrible pass. I didn't understand that. One of your comments has a great point too. Is Iguodala was guarding Cousins. Like if you don't have faith in Bielitsa, Iguodala is not your answer for guarding a 7 foot, 280-pound guy out there. That's where I thought Kuminga should have been in. I did not understand playing Iguodala in that moment because he's so weak offensively as a shooter. And I don't think he scored any points tonight. I think Iguodala just laid a fat donut. I could be mistaken on that. Yep, donut. And and Kuminga is an offensive threat. So I don't understand why you're not playing Kuminga in that moment, because he's a younger, much more physical player than Iguodala. Not as smart, but you didn't need smarts there. You just needed someone to man up Cousins. When you guys are ready, I'm going to give you all those 8 plays I counted, which was just an utter fail on the officiating part that made the difference in this game. When you see it was a 5-point game, when you see it was a tie game, or the Warriors were up 2 with a minute to play, these calls, these bogus, incompetent NBA officials made the difference in this game. I'll explain it when you're ready for me. I don't want to take up all your time. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Let me give you a couple other things I thought were key factors here. Jordan Poole and Steph Curry had a nightmarish afternoon from 3. I mean, they were 4 of 16 from beyond the arc. Jordan, yeah. I mean, the fact that
I'm laughing at your comments, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the fact that Golden State could be, a sequence away from winning.
Yes.
On a day where Poole and Clay were 4 of 16 from beyond the arc, to me, that's huge. I don't get the Gary Payton 7 minutes. And if there's one thing that I'd be critical of Kerr about this year is several times, I mean, you could look it up, but several times this year when Golden State lost, you look down at the box score and you're like, they forgot about Gary Payton. And it's happened. I'm telling you, it's happened a ton this year. I don't want to say it's the main reason they lose games, but go look at the games where Gary Payton has played big minutes and see what their record is. And then go look at the games where Gary Payton plays 10 minutes or less and see what the record is in those games. And this has been a Kerr weakness. I realize that Kerr doesn't have a whole lot of affinity for GP2's floor game as far as his offensive game. I get it. In a lot of ways, it's 5-on-4, right? When he's out there, they don't even guard him. And then the offense is almost like daring Gary to hoist a couple shots, and that's not his specialty. But 7 minutes, I would say that should have been at least double, maybe triple. I don't understand why he goes away from Gary Payton, but he does and has consistently at different times this year. It's like there's something that's preventing Kerr from playing Gary Payton a full complement of minutes. And so he goes away from him. And then you look up more times than not, when he goes away from GP2, they lose.
Yeah, you're right. I don't, Larry, I'll try to do the research and get back to you before next game, because that is interesting and it's not hard to do that. I might have to go game after game, but I'll find that for you, because I'm 100% with you. I don't understand what Kerr's issue is. The only thing I've ever heard people say that gives me pause and makes me reflect and wonder if there's truth to this is that supposedly, and every time I'm watching, I don't see this, but I've heard people say that the reason could be he's a poor screen setter, that he does not set up the type of screens that, Steph and company are accustomed to when they see that from a player like Iguodala or Draymond. But again, I don't see that. And if that's the reason, work on that. I mean, that can't be something that he can't improve on. I'm 100% with you. And by the way, I think Gary Payton II gets a little shorthanded, or gets the short end of the stick here when we talk about his offense. I mean, he did shoot 36% from 3 this year, and his quarter 3 is solid. And as you guys know, anything above 33% as a 3-point shooter is sound. I mean, you can rely on that. That's the same as being a 50% field goal percentage shooter from 2. So I don't get it, man. And he's really effective in the post. He has a lot of easy putbacks for second chance points. I don't understand that. Yeah, man. I hope someone at the press conference asked that question, because I feel like that's where media incompetency shows itself, when the questions that need to be asked are not asked. And I don't know if it's because they don't want to upset them. I don't know if they just don't think about it. But I'm with you, man. What is going on? 7 minutes. 7.
I mean, he's maybe your best defender outside of Green. I mean, he's just an incredible blanket defender. Dan Coach Emilio says, give Denver credit. They played their A game. Warriors played their C game and barely lost on the road. Warriors did what they needed to do and won game 3. I kind of agree with Danny on this one. not just because he's our sponsor, because he's actually makes a great point here, and that is that really Denver played their A game. I mean, look what Denver needed in this game. They needed Kerr to sit Peyton. They needed Poole and Steph to just not be able to hit a three. And then they needed 21 from Gordon, 24 from Morris, double digits for Highland, double digits for Boogie. All those things happened, and they barely got a win at home to keep the series alive. So this is a mismatch. Golden State's going to end this series Wednesday night, at Chase Center for sure. But I don't know. Personally, I don't really have a problem with anything I saw today, because I thought Golden State, for the most part, they could have gotten buried. They got behind early. It was a representative effort, but there was a lot of things left you scratching your head at the end of this game. Like, why? That's interesting. And then the other thing I think that has to be brought up is that Draymond Green is playing at an incredible level, and beyond this game and beyond this series, I think that is the takeaway for the game, for the team right now, is that Clay's healthy. Poole, at least coming into today, was in rhythm. Steph is now getting healthy. They're incredibly deep, but the real difference maker is that Green is playing at a ridiculous level right now.
Triple-double.
Very much like the MVP that we saw from opening night all the way through Christmas, before the disc injury started to show itself. We saw him playing at the highest level of his career. He's literally playing for a Hall of Fame spot at this point. He knows, he's got rings. He knows if he gets one more and is a star player in that run for it, that he's probably going to Springfield, Mass. He's probably going to be an NBA or a basketball Hall of Famer.
First ballot, man.
And I think he kind of understands that because of the lack of offense, he's maybe on the border, in some people's minds, and he wants to make that a slam dunk.
Larry, you think there's any doubt of this?
Not in my mind. I've watched his whole career. I think he's a Hall of Famer. But I think there will be people that will discount him because of the surrounding cast and point to Steph and Clay and Cade in the rings, and not really understand that Draymond really was as responsible for each and every one of those rings as those other guys.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like, Hall of Fame, he's 100% making it. I feel like where it's going to be a little bit unfortunate is like, when I'm, in 20 years, when I have kids and I'm telling them about Draymond Green, and then they're looking up his stats and playing with him on 2K, and they're just like, I don't really understand I don't understand this guy. Like, you had to be there to watch it. You know what I mean? Like,
he's an eye test player for sure.
He's an eye test player. And you know what? Look at the box score. He led the entire game in plus minus. He's plus 18.
Yeah.
I mean, he directs traffic. He's your rim protection. He's taken away Jokic. I mean, Doris Burke was highlighting it in the game in the second half today. She's like, wow, Green just made that defensive play. Then he sets the pick that freed up Clay for the three on the other end. And you just see that his whole DNA as a basketball player is all about winning play after winning play after winning play. And if you add up a series of these winning plays, you have a parade.
Yeah,
right.
You have a dynasty.
Hey,
and this was the first game of the series he did not hit a three. I don't think it's a coincidence, man. And I really do believe that, and I'm sure you guys agree as well, that if he did not foul out, they win this game. I mean, the tide was going in their favor, and I thought they still had it, period. But look, bench players, as Shaq calls them, the others, right? It's not just bench players. It's like the secondary players in their starting lineup. They need the home crowd to thrive in the postseason. They're not going to show up in Chase Center. Aaron Gordon has now had 2 straight, solid games, but Morris was just on fire. Bones Highland with those, one of those threes was 35 feet out, and it was just nothing but net.
I have that written down. It was 30 feet, 33, 31, and it was in a matter of 50 seconds. He had 9 points.
Yeah, I was just eyeballing it for distance. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. Are you guys ready for me to list all those plays? That
before you do one last
Okay.
one here. This is an interesting one out of the text line. Clarence Beeks, do you guys know who Clarence Beeks actually is? That name,
No.
Clarence Beeks?
No.
That was the guy from Trading Places who was trying to frame Eddie Murray or Dan Aykroyd, and he was the jerky guy who planted the faulty bills on him
With the suit?
and with the suit, and he's like,
he was
get
lost.
He's like, get lost, maggot. Remember that when he's
he was
in
the
the phone booth?
in the what's the movie? The high school movie where they're all in detention
musical?
No, about with Judd Hirsch.
Yes,
and,
he was the teacher, right?
Yeah, he was the teacher.
Same actor. Okay.
What was it called again? What was that movie from the 80s?
For some reason, I'm totally brain farting on this.
Why am I? Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club. Thank you.
Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Clarence Beeks says, "What the hell was with the out of bounds play?
Made no sense, man. That was one of those.
Why are you going up top to Wiggins there with a man between him and the ball? I thought Austin Rivers made a nice play, but I mean, God, that seemed like a really high risk, a really low percentage play at a weird time right there. I mean, are you telling me that that's what you would have done in any situation similar to that? Or is that because this is a throwaway game and you really know you're going to finish this thing up in game 5? I mean, if that had been game 7, would you have done the same thing? I mean, I kind of wonder. I don't think so. That to me seemed like an all or nothing kind of a, I mean, I didn't like that play
today, man. There were a lot of head scratchers from coaching today, man. It was weird. I don't know what's going on. Paul Gleason's the actor, by the way. And one of your commenters, I got to give him love. Rebel 4444, whoever that is making me laugh. I got to stop looking at the comments so much, but good times there.
Are you talking about the thing about Jordan Poole? He says,
"Well, the Zendaya, yeah, is it Zendaya's fault? I don't know if there's truth to Zendaya reject Jordan Poole. I mean, kudos to Poole for trying. I mean, that's you're aiming for the stars with that.
Who makes more money?
That's a good question.
Right
now, Zendaya.
Sure.
Right now, Zendaya, but
got that
Marvel
tag.
for now.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cy. You want to list
Yes.
You've built up a list. You've teased your list. Let's hear the list.
There's 7 of them. So I'm gonna. So
these are the 7 Cyrus Saatsaz commandments.
Well, these are 7 just total f-ups from the officials in this game. I got to start first. First and foremost, again, it was the foul that they called on Steph that Kerr challenged. The Warriors had to use their only challenge in the first quarter, so Stephen Kerr did not pick up his second foul. Do you two remember that play? Like Steph had his arms up, wasn't moving. Jokic just barrels through him, and they called the foul on Steph for just standing there. And they had to make the challenge. Again, those challenges are important, man. These are challenges you want to save for the end of the game that they had to use up in the first quarter. And the first quarter free throw advantage was 12-2, would have been 14-2 because of that. I mean, did that seem appalling to you, or is that just me?
I thought there were several bad calls. I thought that was a bad call that went against Golden State. I thought the call on Boogie Cousins with Draymond where Boogie drew the tech. I thought that was ticky-tack on Boogie. So I don't know.
Well, that one was weird. People
he turned
seem to miss
into Draymond, but I mean, I don't know. That was a reputation tech.
That is true, but Cousins slammed the ball. That's what he was called for the tech, and they'll call that on players every time. You're just not supposed to spike the basketball, and he spiked it. I don't know why.
I'm talking about the one where he just put his hands up after he.
Well, he did it first, and then Dre and they got.
But I thought they called the tech before he slammed the ball.
No,
did they not?
No. First, they called the foul on Draymond, and then he was annoyed at Draymond, so he slammed the basketball, and then it went T. Okay. And so that was the T. I mean,
T, wasn't it?
Seemed pretty ticky-tack. It seemed pretty ticky-tack to me.
It was ticky-tack. It was a lot of ticky-tacky. So what about at the end of the first half, there was an inbound play to Klay Thompson.
He picked up the fourth.
There was 0.6 seconds left when this happened. They called the foul on Klay.
I saw that was a terrible call too. And that was painful, man.
That was his
fourth
foul.
Going into the half, yeah, I mean that was
and it just all these things were momentum killers. Momentum killers are huge in games like this. There was a non-call, so Jordan Poole. I don't know if you remember this. In the third quarter, it was about 4 or 5 minutes remaining. He goes for a 3-point attempt, blatantly fouled, and it was just a non-call. It's fine. Let's let the Warriors' best shooters just get hit blatantly in the head and the torso and just leave it alone. That was ridiculous. You saw Kerr just outraged at that. Another play late in the third quarter, there was a foul called on Otto Porter Jr. When all he did was cleanly block the shot, and it should have been a travel, I think, on DeMarcus Cousins. I can't remember if that was a player who had the ball. That was ridiculous. There was a non-call on Steph being mauled on a free throw, a 3-point attempt at the end of the third quarter. On the fourth quarter, Steph was driving to the basket. I don't know if you remember this. He gets fouled, makes it with his left, and they wave it off and say, no, the foul was before the shot, even though he was already in the motion, even though he was already going right up for it. And then the very next play, they call the exact same foul, except DeMarcus Cousins does go to the line. So that's like a 4-point swing right there. And then Draymond Green fouling out at the end. I mean, that was such a ticky-tack call for a
terrible
sixth foul.
I think he got him on the face. That's the only thing I can think of, because he was like holding his eye was like a little red. But you don't call that.
I hear the pushback from the Denver crowd saying, "Hey, look, you're not going to get every call. What difference does it make?" I can even see some of the Warrior fans going, "Oh, you guys are making a bigger deal about these calls. It's still 3-1 Golden State." Here's why you need to make a big deal about this stuff, because now you're going to have to play another game in this series. Yep. And in this next game, anything can happen. And when I say that, I mean, the more games you play, the more potential negative things that can happen. Now, can you win the title in game 5 in the first round against the Nuggets? No, but you can lose the title in game 5 in the first round against the Nuggets if somehow you had some crucial injury in that game. So to me, Rebel 444 says, "Hey, I just want us to stay healthy," and I get where he's coming from, but that's a big part of the anybody who's pushing on us, going, "Hey, look, yeah, you're talking about ticky-tack fouls, but you're still up 3-1. The series is still over." That's not the point. The point is they're going to have to suit it up Wednesday night for a game 5 now. And if they suffer an injury in game 5, that potentially could derail their entire title hopes. So I just, some of these things where it's like, well, it really doesn't matter because they're going to win the series anyway. It doesn't matter if they emerge from this series healthy, but it does matter if they don't.
Yep. Absolutely right,
yeah,
man. And again, when you have a game where the Warriors were up 2 with a minute to play, I mean, when I give you a list of 7 different plays that results in anywhere from 14 to 21 points, depending on the swing, some of these being 3-point plays, that's a huge difference, man. And it's a momentum killer. It prevents fast break points. There's so many benefits to a ref just blowing a whistle. We literally have evidence of a ref corrupting the game back in the early 2000s. So I don't want to hear like this diminishment, this dismissiveness of NBA refs making differences in games, because they do. They easily can. I am 100% on board. I feel like there's 2 schools of thoughts here. One being that no, that's just conspiracy stuff. The referees don't actually do corrupt acts to sway games or make a difference. Then there's the other side that says, look, Team Donaghy got caught. For every criminal that gets caught, who knows how many are getting away with it? And
they totally threw that under the table. I mean, David Stern called Donaghy a rogue, isolated criminal. He never addressed the fact that this rogue, isolated criminal made 275 phone calls before opening tip to a couple other NBA officials. So if he's so isolated, why is he calling these guys 225 times before the tip? The NBA just they treat the public like they're idiots. They sweep that whole story under the rug. It's just people, we love to use the word bullying. You want to see bullying? David Stern bullied the entire NBA media community to just bury that story. It's like he just basically, if you want to talk about, Donaghy and the gambling scandal, you better not ever want to be an NBA media person. You better not want to be an NBA announcer. You were going nowhere if you were pursuing angles on that story, and everybody associated with the league should be ashamed of themselves. They're not,
Right.
it's as blatant as they're looking the other way on China while taking all that money. It's the same damn thing.
True.
It's like everybody wants to speak out with their visions, and then all of a sudden, oh, what? Oh, it's very complicated. We can't comment on any of this because it's all very complicated.
Shameless.
No, it's so
sad
self-serving. It's pathetic. And to the people who try to make it seem like they're calling everything as they see it, as they ignore all these things that they conveniently want to ignore while calling attention to things they want to call attention to. They've lost tons of credibility. That's part of the reason why the ratings are down, because it's become this league where people are, they feel like, several truisms are being squashed and everybody's on their pulpit when they want to be about their cause. But then when it comes to the NBA's, investment in China and the associations with China, it's all very complicated and we really can't comment. I mean,
Preach,
come on.
brother.
Seriously.
Preach, brother.
I mean, I don't know any other way to say that. Simon says there was a moment when they didn't call a foul on Jokic for the same thing that got Clay got fouled for, or got called for the foul with the 0.6 left in the first half. He says, I rarely watch the NBA. Does officiating tend to favor the home team? I don't know.
It does, for sure.
Tiny bit, maybe.
I don't have enough information to corroborate that. I don't, I definitely feel like there's a lot of blatant inconsistencies. Let's just call it that with NBA officiating. And it's officiated different game to game, sometimes sequence to sequence.
Yeah, and I'm a believer, you guys, of human nature. I mean, when you're, if you're a human being and there's 15,000 people yelling at you, I mean, I do feel like that might make you lean a certain way here and there. I don't think it's an obvious, blatant, one-sided thing, but I could see it. I could see a slight edge. I don't know, but that's just me.
I mean, even in the, I think the Warriors got a pretty generous whistle in game 1 and 2, and when those avalanches start and Chase is going bananas and everyone is just so ready to explode, it's just really hard for the refs to, it's hard for the refs to, make a call against the Warriors, like a controversial call or whatever. They tend to let things go a little bit more. It's just how it is. I'm not
people weighing in. 49er Minded says, wow, NBA officiating is so shady in regards to what went on with the Donaghy situation and others.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I agree.
It's so different. Larry, it's so different than the Black Sox scandal. I mean, that stained Major League Baseball for who knows how long. It was so long ago, people don't talk about it, but it was corrupt. It was a complete stain on the credibility of the game, and this was no different. And it is crazy how stern.
This was the credibility of the games themselves, and where was the independent evaluation, independent investigation? There wasn't any. And why did Donaghy make 227 calls to Foster or whatever other officially called? We can call him a rogue, isolated criminal and be done with him. That's the league and every one of their mouthpieces have done basically since that incident. But Donaghy's not dead. You can go interview him right now if you want.
Yeah.
You can talk to him right now. He can give you chapter and verse if you want. I've talked to him. I've interviewed him a couple times. It's funny how nobody ever associated with the league ever seems to ever get around to interviewing him.
I agree with Matthew Mears. I say we the Warriors. It's more on the Warriors than the refs in this game.
Totally.
Also, I will say I think that the one plus side of gambling becoming so involved in these sports is there's going to be so much at stake in terms of the sort of ref things that we were talking about, inconsistent call. They're going to be so aggressive in terms of having these independent bodies, because the one thing that could take these leagues down is if there's a chance that these the outcomes are predetermined. That ruins everything.
Once the integrity of the competition is called into question, forget it. It's game over, man. It's game over. I understand why they want to shut everybody up, but let's just acknowledge it for what it is.
Yeah, and look, Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Si. I was
No,
just going to say, fast forward to the next game. Let's talk about what we may see. From the Denver Nuggets. What did they take away, and what did they do in this game that they feel like they can replicate Wednesday night at Chase?
I don't think they can replicate anything. I think it's sort of a freeing thing, I think, for them. Like, they're like, you know what? Like, let's show that we're not going to just roll over and go down 4-0. But they basically had, it's a sorry, what's that phrase where they have nothing to lose. They had nothing to lose. So, there's just no way they're going to shoot like that in Chase. There's just no way. So I think it's going to be pretty easy. Also, thinking about the Gary Payton thing, like, I totally agree. Like, why when Monte Morris was getting going, like, why did we not put Gary Payton out there? And why when Bones Highland was getting going, why would we not put, you know what I mean? Just to like stop him or at least show him a different look. But then on the other side, the only thing I can think of, because I feel like GP, I mean, he fits in. All those guys really love him, and he seems like he's always great when he's out there. I think that maybe he has like a little bit of low-key soft tissue stuff, and I think that maybe Kerr was trying to give him a little bit of a break and get the younger guys in there.
In terms of his legs,
you're probably right. Yeah, he's talking about injury, and there's, I don't know if it's a groin or a hammy or a quad. But
yeah,
GP2 has not been 100%, and he's playing through it, but he's not 100%. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he yanked something in pregame and gave Kerr the nod, and
they don't want to say anything because they don't want someone to attack him there.
Yeah, or maybe it's something like that. I mean, I would feel better if that were the case. But you know what? What makes me a little skeptical is that Kerr has forgotten about GP2 a dozen times this year.
Yeah, a lot. You're right. It's a trend.
It's not like a one-time thing. And I guarantee you their record in those games is not good.
No, I'm going to look into that,
Larry. They may be better than 500, but they've lost a ton of the games when they forgot about GP2.
No, Larry, I'm going to look into that. I'm going to do research on all 82 games we'll make it the 10-minute mark, like what their record is, over under 10 minutes for Gary Payton II, because I'm totally with you. I mean, I've observed all 82 games this year, and if my memory serves correct, and Rebel, my memory is questionable today, wink, wink. So no, don't think I betrayed the Warriors in that regard. Here's what I'll say is Gary Payton II is a winner, and the Warriors win when he plays. So I'm going to look that up just to confirm it for the next show. Because you're right, Gary Payton II is incredible. I mean, ultimately for me, I'm looking at this box score, right? And I'll leave you gentlemen on this note. Let's hope when we reconvene next time this is a win and not a loss. I didn't see any individual players for the Warriors necessarily like have a bad game, except for two people. Kevon Looney, who I really think has pretty much played himself out of this series. Like, I don't see any good reason he should be playing. I honestly think his minutes should go to Bielitsa. I think his minutes should go to Kuminga, since we're playing him now. And I think his minutes should also go to Otto Porter Jr. I mean, those players are vastly
small. Give his minutes to Payton.
Because Looney's not that big. Anyways, yes. And Gary Payton II has also shown that he's an intimidator and a pest when it comes to guarding Jokic. Jokic does not thrive when Gary Payton II is nearby. He gets balls stolen. He's clearly skittish and annoyed. I mean, he's gotten in his head. But Andre Iguodala had a horrible game tonight. And in 13 minutes of play, for him to have a nothing burger, he laid a donut. He had no points, had just one rebound, had no assists. His defense was just virtually non-existent. He didn't make any. He had no steals. He had no blocks. I mean, the only stat he had was one offensive rebound. That's it. And so individually, those two players are really sticking out to me. But the coaching is where I think they failed tonight, because look, if it isn't broke, why tinker with it? Like, why fix it? The Warriors are up 3-0 in this series, running a very basic roster protocol, where basically this little new death lineup, we usually come in at about the 5-minute mark of the second quarter. They did not do that. I think they didn't come in together till near the end. So when you look at Jordan Poole's reduced numbers, I think that's a huge part of it. He wasn't playing with Steph and Clay. And I don't know if that's because of Clay's early foul trouble, which I still think for a player of Clay's stature and intelligence, you leave him out there with the 2 fouls. So I don't know if that was a reason, but the Gary Payton minutes only playing 7 minutes, Bielitsa only playing 5 minutes when he is playing like the Bielitsa we saw back in October, November, December, and for him to not be playing was weird. So I feel like this was coaching. I don't know what was going through their minds tonight. That inbounds play was weird. I mean, that was a scripted play. That was a Steve Kerr scripted play where even if that pass was successful, I don't know what you're doing with that. Even the ball placement and where he was awkward. He wasn't anywhere near the rim. So I that's the adjustment I see. I don't like the Nuggets are like Aaron Gordon's not going to light it up in Game 5. I don't think Monte Morris is going to light it up like he did tonight in Game 5. But the Warriors players are going to improve. And I just hope Kerr and company like look in the mirror and go, why did I do that? Why did I make changes to something that was working? You know, like, it just didn't make sense.
And Golden State's got, I mean, I'll let you go on this one. So first of all, I think you're spot on almost every single thing you said. I agree with your Looney. What's he doing out there? Andre Iguodala is, in my mind, retired. I don't get, I realize he's done a lot for this team over the course of the year, bringing guys like Kuminga and Moody and being a veteran, that kind of thing. But, this idea that Iguodala's got some final chapter to write, no, he doesn't. I'll tell you the other thing is that this is a team with guys with very specific roles.
Yes.
And I want to see them do their roles. For example, Jordan Poole took 10 shots today, 6 less than Wiggins, which is kind of baffling. And if you added up Draymond Green and Kuminga's shots, Green and Kuminga combined took the same number of shots from the field as Jordan Poole. So to me, that I want to see Jordan Poole, Steph, and Clay take the lion's share of the shots. I want to see those guys approach 20 shots each. And I want to see the rest of these guys play their role. Rebound, run the floor, distribute. I don't want to see non-shooters like Green and Kuminga having the same number of shots as Poole. I want to see Payton play more minutes. I don't see the reason for Looney when Green is clearly the best defensive player on Jokic that you can think of. We don't need to come up with reasons for Kevon to play. Sit him down, take away some of those minutes. I agree. Go smaller, play your defenders. When you have a team like this where, Monty Morris needs to go for 20 for them to hang with you, put Gary Payton on him in the second half. When he got hot in that third quarter, man, whatever game plan Kerr had for Payton, he should have changed it in that third quarter and said, you know what, GP, you're jumping on Morris now, and you shut him down. Payton is the kind of defender where he can almost prevent you from ever shooting again.
Agreed.
So I want to see some adjustments, but ultimately, I'm not mad at anybody here. I thought Golden State played their B-, C+ kind of game. I thought Denver played their A- kind of a game, and they've extended the series, and it will end Wednesday night. But good stuff, man. Go ahead.
And before we go, actually, here's a question for you guys. Do you think Steph still comes off the bench in Game 5? Because I'm starting to rethink that. This experiment might be over after tonight, given how slow the start was. I don't know if he's coming off the bench anymore. I would not do that anymore. Stephen Curry is one of the greatest players ever in the history of this game. I was just having a debate last night on one of these Twitter spaces. I decided to jump in on one of these. And they were talking about Kevin Durant's legacy, which has been severely tarnished from the Celtics series. And someone was like, yeah, well, he's still better than Steph. I'm like, and I jumped in there. I'm like, no, he's not. I'm like, you're not putting KD above Steph in the all-time rankings. And it started making me wonder, if is Steph in the top 10 yet? I don't think he is, but he's just right outside it. And you can't bring him off the bench anymore. I think it was an interesting experiment.
Why did they bring him off the bench? They brought him off the bench because he physically wasn't 100%, one. But I think more importantly, they brought him off the bench
for Poole
because they saw that Poole was going for 25 a game. He's one of the most lethal scorers in the NBA coming down the stretch. And they wanted to just bottle that up and replicate that in the playoffs. So they wanted to keep him in rhythm. So I think I would go with it for another game. Now, if by chance they start slow in this game, then the next and regardless of how the outcome of the game, then I would go with it. I'd go with Steph back in the lineup going forward, either for game 6 of this series or probably more like game 1 of the next series. But in this series, I still think you want to get a bunch of points. I mean, the Warriors have struggled at times, believe it or not, offensively this year, and they need Poole's points. And I think Poole's offensive contribution makes the entire team kind of relax and settle into better shot selection. So I like the idea of prioritizing Poole getting loose early in games.
Fair enough, but I'm not sitting here saying bench Poole. I think you need to bench Looney. I'm not saying.
So you'd go extra small.
I go extra small. I go with Green to the 5 because look, it didn't work tonight. Poole did not get off some super hot start with Steph off the bench, and I don't. If anything, I think if you're going to have Poole get off to a really hot start, you need to have these other distractions, right? In terms of Clay and Steph taking defenders away from him to give him more space to get him going sooner. Yeah, I think it's time to bring out the splash party. This is what I'm calling it until we're all unanimously agreeing on a nickname. But I think you start the splash party right away and just put opponents out because they started slow tonight. I mean, the slow start to me was a huge reason why they lost this game. They were up 13-8, I think, early in the game, or 13-6, and then that was it. They didn't see the lead again until way in the fourth quarter. And look, Steph's a starter. I mean, this was interesting for 4 games. I don't want to see it anymore. I think I'm done. I think it's time for Steph to be starting. I think it's time for them to all to get in a groove because Steph didn't look like he started off horribly. I think he was like 0 for 7 to start the game or 0 for 6. And by the way, Gary Payne II did not play in the fourth quarter, if my math is correct, which is inexcusable. Completely is. But yeah. So
do you think Krueger will be asked about that in the post game?
I hope so. I mean, I question Bay Area media, Larry, as I'm sure you know.
What's your over-under on Steph next game as far as points? Matthew Mears says, I think Steph goes nuclear next game. He's saying he's calling for 45.
Wow, I hope so. I say 35. I'm going to go realistic.
Yeah, I'm on that same train. Matthew Mears is the 45 points, but I think if Steph is on 45-point pace, I don't think he plays much of the fourth. I think that's the kind of game.
Matthew Timoni says Steph has lost his legs.
You're an idiot.
I disagree.
You're an idiot. Sorry, Matthew, but that's dumb.
His conditioning is just A1.
Hey, react to this one before you leave from the great Dan Coach Emilio, who's a phenomenal sports fan and our sponsor.
Nice.
Denver's game plan was to trap Jordan Poole, take the ball out of his hands.
Agreed.
You might see a starting 5 of Steph, Poole, Clay, Wiggs, and Green.
Yes, I like it. That's my whole reasoning for wanting all 3 to start. And by the way, Dan, you are a very intelligent individual for sponsoring this program. So kudos to both of you for the nice symbiotic relationship there. But I'm 100% with you. I think the offense needs to get rolling sooner. I think the rhythm needs to be established sooner. And you do that by having your best players on the floor. So start Steph. I think the time is now. That's my opinion.
Now, here's the question. Did you react to Dan Coach Emilio, or did Dan Coach Emilio react to you?
Hey, with each other, man.
Dan Coach Emilio restating a point that you had made prior, or has Dan stated it very clearly, and now you're piggybacking Dan's point?
We're all piggybacking each other, Larry. We're all piggybacking each other.
So you're the man. Hey, have a great Sunday. Warriors don't win, but
I know. I wanted you in the Dodgers. I wanted you wearing Dodger blue for tomorrow's Locked On Warriors, and it just delays the what I think is the inevitable. Here's a.
Are we getting
nice
together with Rick tomorrow?
Here's the tease for Locked On Warriors tomorrow. I might have George Karl on the show. Really? Yeah, it's not finalized. I'm like 90% of the way there. I had him on a couple years ago with Rick on his show, and George Karl raised some eyebrows recently because there's 2 players Karl loves to talk about where he's just poking buttons, pushing buttons and poking bellies, and that is DeMarcus Cousins and Andre Iguodala. And he maintains that Andre Iguodala in the 2013 first-round series against the Warriors was feeding information to Mark Jackson. So I want Karl on the show tomorrow to kind of elaborate on that. And Rick Barry will most likely be joining in as well. It'll be a round table. And then Larry, I hope to have you on the show this week too.
And then also let's give George Karl some credit, because when Boogie last week was on Twitter saying the Kings never did S for me, man, what do the Kings ever do for me? George Karl pointed out, I don't know, but the Kings from where I was sitting gave you and your family generational wealth, maybe that's, I don't know, something that just kind of Boogie and Carl,
George Carl does not hold back when it comes to opinions, man. He's a straight shooter, and he's not afraid to definitely get people upset at him if he just wants to speak his mind. So yeah, so hopefully, and people forget George Carl is a former Warriors head coach from I believe 87 to 89. If I could be wrong on the somewhere.
Yes, you're right. No, I think 86 because maybe 85 even because he was there when the Warriors drafted Chris Washburn 3rd overall.
There you go.
Chris Washburn showed up in Oakland. He brought a stretch Benz and had a license plate Grandmaster license plate on a stretch Benz for Chris Washburn. 3rd pick overall, 86 draft. Look it up. It was a crushing draft. Bias went 2, right?
2, correct.
And then died on draft night from coke. But that draft had William Bedford and Chris Washburn and John Hot Plate Williams and all kinds of guys with major talent who kind of crapped out. So good stuff, crazy. Man. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, and I got to answer real quick. What was that sponsor we had at KNBR with the hair plugs? Was it Dr. Rosanelli?
Dr. Rosanelli.
Yeah. So if you want to, so for Rebel 4444, that's your answer for you in case you're wondering about Rick Barry. Yeah, no wigs. So
no wigs for Rick.
Maybe I saw highlights, Larry. Maybe you have the answer to this. There are highlights of Rick in the late 70s when all of a sudden he looks like he has a full head of hair. He went Andre Agassi style. I think that was a wig. Do you know? That's one subject I don't really talk about Rick that much with, but he's happy to do so. But it's just what's the point? But was that a wig? I think it was. Right.
I try not to discuss other men's. After Joe Buck said he was addicted to hair plugs.
Yeah.
I think at that point it's just what. Whatever makes you feel good. Whatever makes you feel good.
And I only bring up the Rick thing because that was a sponsor. I mean, he was literally live endorsing Dr. Rosanelli on the air for 5 years. So it's no secret that I'm bringing that up. But anyways,
I don't believe in dying. That's why
I'm with you, dude.
The other day I was at Walgreens. Where are my keys? And I put my keys down on the thing, and the lady says to me, and they're my boys, right? When they were little, and it's a little bit faded, and they're all playing baseball. They got their baseball thing, right? And so the lady behind the counters looks at me, and she goes, "Oh, are those your grandbabies?"
Oh, that's not cool.
Seriously,
that's
I almost choked her out. I
don't blame you.
But then I thought, what? Maybe I better not. What if she, might get back to the Walgreens police, and I can't handle that.
21. I don't I'm lucky so far. I'm gonna get grays up here at some point, dude. But you're seeing them down here. I think it's with every biological child you have, you get more of them. That's my theory on it, because you just worry the moment they're born, right? And that's just that worry just turns.
Would you rather get hair plugs or dye your hair or go au natural?
Natural, dude. Just buzz it, right?
How about frosted tips? I can see. I know some guys who go frosted tips, give them kind of a youthful look.
Tommy Brady pulled off the hair plugs nicely. I feel like
that's true.
All of a sudden, he had long hair one year, and came back.
I think that's real, man.
Oh yeah,
no. He got back here. He's got plugs, dude. No, for sure. Ryan nailed that. That's true.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? Standing back there.
I was just
standing back there.
Yep. I was just
greatest football player of all time.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say Drew Brees. It's Drew Brees for sure. Right?
Tom Brady's playing with PEDs, baby.
No, I'm gonna get the Clippers at some point, man. It's a miracle I can still have hair. Dude, if you saw me on certain days, you were going whoa, he's definitely going bald. I'm gonna have to get the Clippers at some point. But
also, call back to the couple days ago. How is Evan Webeck? I was trying to figure out how old he is because he looks younger than I am. But then I was like, I think he's
got a phenomenal head of hair. Phenomenal head of hair. Evan Webeck
so much, man.
You know those guys who wear the hat that has the hair sticking out the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Evan Webeck's got that kind of pompadour going.
And Matthew Timoni, great call with the sun in. That was such a thing in the 90s where you just sun in. So you spray that thing in your head and lighten up just from the sun. I mean,
sun in. Yep.
You got black hair. It gets all auburn.
Yeah,
friends do that in college, and they just look ridiculous.
See, Rye's coming out of LA though. He probably seen a lot of the people with the frosted tips. You know what I mean?
Frosties. I mean, I feel like the frosted tips are kind of coming back.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. Sun in though was the thing. Matthew Tarmoni. Wait a second. Matthew Mears is weighing in on hair. LOL. Gray hair is from stress. My dad's friend in his 70s. No kids, not a single gray hair.
I'm telling you, man.
Is that
kids,
true?
dude.
That could be true. Got a lot
kids
of gray.
and lack of sleep.
Very,
like Brian Murphy.
Very stressed. Very stressed.
Yeah, I mean, you have 4 of them, Larry. I mean, that's every single one of those just adds this worry.
Every time my kid says, "Dad, can I borrow the car keys?" I'm like, "I got more gray. I got
new
more
gray hair." And don't pull them out,
about
folks.
the accident. Thinking
Ryan,
about
and for all the kids out there, don't pluck them, because every time you pluck a gray hair, like 5 come back, dude. Avoid that too.
I got very thin chin hair going right today, but if you can look real closely, it's very white. It's very white.
Larry, you're distinguished, man. You don't have any lines on your forehead. You're doing good, dude. You're fine.
Thank you.
Screw
Well, it's
that person
Botox, and it's cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. Cy, good stuff, man. Hey, Cy, it's been awesome having you after all the playoff games, and come back on Wednesday night. Bring Kylan. Tell her we want her back as well, and we can maybe do a little round table.
I know. She's getting married. Maybe she's on her honeymoon. I'll reach out, but she might be on her honeymoon
right now.
Week. I think it was
in the middle of the playoffs.
I think this weekend was a wedding week. Not a smart call. Yeah, you're right.
She wasn't worried about the Nuggets.
Matthew says, "Great stream and chat as always. Thank you." And 49er minded, excellent post game show as we talk about gray hair versus plugs, and we'll have more on that straight ahead. All right,
hey, you got to fill when the Warriors lose. Can I leave on this note just to piss one of your commenters off? And I'm genuinely curious, what is going on with Deebo Samuel? So I know someone said don't bring up Deebo. I'm totally bringing up Deebo.
He was in a club in LA. He was in a club in LA, and somebody had a sign that. Oh, wait a second. Sorry about that sign.
Sorry.
He was in a club in LA, and basically somebody had a sign that said Deebo's not going anywhere. And I think it's pretty clear. There was also a report that the Jets are willing to trade the 10th pick in the draft. So, excuse me, I would say it's I would think, as much as Niner fans don't want to hear this, extremely likely Deebo goes to the Jets.
But here's my question,
for the 10th pick and probably the 2-2s.
But what have you figured out the why of it? Like, why does he want to leave, man? Like the Niners are willing to offer him the money, right? So
they're not willing to offer him the money. I think it's about the side. I think that's it right there. I think he doesn't like the money he's being offered. And then he's had enough people in his ear talk to him about his football mortality. And so now for the first time, he's thinking about his football mortality, and he sees that the Niners don't want to pay him anything approaching $70 million guaranteed. The Jets, by comparison, have a lot more cap room. And maybe his agent's like, "Hey, man, imagine what you can make off the field." Either Deebo's going to – I don't see Parag and the Niners giving him anything north of $50 million guaranteed, and that's going to be $20 million less guaranteed than other receivers of his ilk are getting. So there is no deal to be made. It's what we call an impasse. And the Niners are going to they're going to take whatever picks they can get, and they're going to get down the road. But you know what? You look around the league, Steelers are shopping Chase Claypool. Giants are shopping Kadarius Toney. Julio Jones is still a free agent. Jarvis Landry is still a free agent. You can replace Deebo Samuel and still get a draft pick compensation package that might ultimately vault you into a spot where you're a better football team than you are by just bringing him back and paying him the money. So
I hope so.
Sadly, I think that's the situation. If you're saying make a prediction, I'll say by Wednesday, he's a Jet, and the Niners Thursday night is going to be a big night for the Niners. Right now, everybody's saying, well, they don't have a pick. They don't have a pick right now, but by Thursday night, they might have multiple picks.
I'll say this, man. It's been a lousy offseason for the Niners, and I mean, I used to call myself an expert on this, but I got to be honest, man. I don't follow it nearly as close as you do these days. But this offseason is horrible. I say it's horrible. I mean, it's just there hasn't been anything they've done really that makes you go yay. And isn't this a lack of a vote of confidence for Trey Lance? I mean, if if Debo believed in Trey and thought that he'd be, this next quarterback of the future kind of thing,
it could have nothing to do with Trey. That's a good point. It could have nothing to do with Trey, or it could be all about Trey. Right? It could be all about Trey. I will say that I would say that the Niners probably need a different kind of receiver with Trey than they needed with Jimmy. With Jimmy, he couldn't make any plays down the field. So you needed a guy you could dump it to short and he would run after the catch. With Trey, he throws such a fastball and he's has such arm strength that you better get a great, like Jahan Dotson, I should say, from Penn State. I think in some ways is the perfect receiver to play with Trey Lance. Why? Because he's got elite ball skills. He can catch a bullet, and Trey throws bullets. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. All right, Cy.
I'll love you guys. Love you. Thank you,
bro.
See you Wednesday.
Sounds good. Cyrus Saatsaz, Locked On Warrior podcast, and we appreciate Cy for stopping by. Couple last thoughts on Warriors. I mean, we can get into a couple other things as well because we've gone an hour now. We came on after both Giants and Warriors. So we did the Warrior post game, but the Giants did win 12-3. So why don't we do this? Why don't we
pivot?
Do you have any more comments, Rye, on Golden State? Is there anything more about the game that you want to get into from today that, we talked about a number of different angles on this thing, but is there an angle on this that you feel like we have not hit that you want to hit?
Last thing is just, I think we've talked a lot about Steph, a lot about Clay, a lot about Draymond. I thought Wiggins had a really nice game. I thought there was a couple times where the game
missed that spike jam, though. That hurt.
He missed the spike jam. That really hurt. But you know what? He kind of showed. I mean, every time they kind of were making a run, it seemed like Wiggins was hitting a jumper or getting to the line. I love when he's more aggressive like this.
I do too.
I
put it on the deck and go to the rim. You're 6'8". You've got body control. You've got an ability to go by guys. I don't like it when he settles for perimeter shots. I think his perimeter shot's good, but nothing crazy great. Yeah. But man, if he just had a little bit more dog in him, where he was just like a little bit more like, you know what, I'm taking it to the front of the rim and I'm going to dunk it on somebody. You know what? I think better things happen when he plays that way.
Agreed. Really agreed. I think that wraps it up.
Let's thank our sponsors, and then we'll get into the Giants a little bit.
All right.
We have Telmetrics.co. And if you're an orthopedic surgeon, an occupational therapist, a chiropractor, or a physical therapist, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. So Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in clinical and telehealth environments. Using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injuries, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist, be sure you go to Telmetrics.co. That's Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. And also thanks to Dan Coach Emilio. He's at 925-628-9966, securemoney.com. There's a lot going on in the world. You just want to make sure your money is secure. And Danny is a retirement specialist, a retirement planning specialist, and he can help you do just that. He's got over 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call. He's at 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. Once again, Dan Coach Emilio, retirement planning specialist at Secure Money, 925-628-9966. And thanks to Danny for not just being a sponsor, but also being a participant in the Krueg Show. All right, let's talk a little Giants today as well. Giants got the sweep in DC. Weird game. I'm watching. Did you see the beginning of the game?
Weird. I mean, yeah. What I heard there was I was listening to Dave Fleming on the radio actually, because I hate to say it, I wasn't watching, I was listening to it, but right. I was returning my U-Haul But I heard he had some crazy stat about like the Giants in the first like 3 innings of these games are like plus like some ungodly number, and then rest of the game not much. But yeah,
But you didn't see what happened though.
no, I didn't see.
So okay, so beginning of the game starts. Nationals pitcher is out on the mound, and suddenly Lucius Fox, the third baseman, walks towards the mound, and you just think, maybe he's just going to say something to the pitcher, and he yacked right there on the field.
What?
Yeah, he doubles over and yaks in the middle of the field.
What?
And came out of the game. Yeah. They brought in, they moved Michael Franco from first base to third base. They brought in a new first baseman, and they took Lucius Fox out of the game.
What they put on top of it? They just rubbed some dirt over it? Like,
believe it or not, they started the inning and they played the first inning with his vomit on the grass.
What?
Yeah. And then they came out between innings, the grounds crew, and poured a bunch of water over it and
ew.
Wash it away.
I'd prefer like kitty litter or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's not often you see that. So he vomits in before 2 pitches into the game and leaves the game. Then Jock Peterson jacked. He hit one out.
I've got a drop for. I was like, I wanted to have one drop for this show because we've talked about it. So did you ever see The Love Guru?
The Love Guru.
Horrible movie with Mike Myers, and he's playing like whatever Love Guru, like Deepak Chopra type guy. But Justin Timberlake plays this character. He's a hockey goalie, and his name is Jacques Lecoq Grande. And so I got
Jacques Lecoq Grande.
So Jock Peterson hits one out to right center, 440 it went. Giants were on the board. Then Wilmer Flores had an RBI single, and that scored Crawford. And it was 2-0 Giants. And that's the way it stayed until the bottom half of the inning. Then Yadiel Hernandez, who had a good day for the Nats, he had an RBI single to make it 2-1. Then Peterson hit a sac fly to make it 3-1 in the second. Belt had an RBI triple to score Joey Bart to make it 4-1. And it looked like the Giants at that point were going to just, run away and hide. And then Yadiel Hernandez hits an opposite field bomb off Logan Webb that went 400 feet with Ruiz aboard. 2-run shot. So that made it 4-3. And then the Giants started to break it open. Flores with the RBI single in the 5th made it 5-3. Jock Peterson's second home run in the 7th made it 6-3. And then, the Giants have been accused of piling on and that kind of thing for the last few weeks. Sure enough, Flores RBI single in the 9th made it 7-3. Luis Gonzalez 2-run single in the 9th made it 9-3. Estrada with a sac fly in the 9th made it 10-3. And then Slater follows with a 2-run single. But the Giants in the 9th inning either went first to third or second to home, took an extra base 4 times in the 9th up. The inning started, they were up 6-3. They took 4 extra bases in the 9th. So guess what? National League, get used to it, right? Because this is the way they play. They're going to keep coming. They're going to try to beat you down. They've already had multiple situations this year where they just, they keep coming and they keep scoring runs and it's just a rhythmic deal offensively. So teams don't like that, I'm sure. But what can you say? The Giants are now 11-5 out of the gate. They won 107 games last year. They sweep in DC. They go to Milwaukee tomorrow, 1-game series. Corbin Burns starts for Milwaukee. Let me see who's starting for the Giants. I think it's Sammy Long.
Oh, it's Sammy Long?
So, yeah, I think it's Sammy Long tomorrow against Corbin Burns.
Okay.
And then Dalton Jeffries Tuesday against Rodon. Wednesday, it's Blackburn. Giants are undecided on Wednesday. Giants are off Thursday. And then the Nats roll in Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Alex Wood on Friday. Logan Webb on Saturday. Undecided on Sunday. But Giants are swinging the bats.
I'm looking at that. I'm liking that they're padding the run differential though. That really helps them when it comes to all those stupid power rankings. But they're plus 37 right now. Dodgers are plus 44. Mets are plus 32. Nobody else is in the 20s.
I'll tell you what is amazing about the Giants. They have not had one at bat this year from Lamont Wade, yet to play, Evan Longoria, yet to play, Tommy LaStella, yet to play. They scored 12 runs today. They are second in Major League Baseball in runs scored.
Crazy.
I mean, Jock Peterson, Jay Hutch says, is on pace to hit 48 bombs. Jock Peterson's hot. Belt got off to a good start. Rodon's been a beast. They've now had some injuries in their rotation. Duggar's on the 60-day DL. The bullpen's got, the best ERA in the big leagues right now. So they're pitching, but man, I did not expect the Giants, with the lineup that they have right now, to be second in the big leagues in runs scored. Second?
Crazy.
It is crazy. And if you look at their lineup, they got like 6 guys hitting under 220. So I don't know what to make of the Giants. They're a good team. They're going to win a lot of games. And you know what? If they play the Dodgers, they may struggle. If they play the Mets, the Braves, they may struggle. A couple select teams in the American League, they may struggle. They may struggle tomorrow against Burns, who's one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. But outside of the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Braves in the league, and a select pitcher here or there, the Giants look like they're going to win every day. They look like they're going to beat down these bad teams day after day after day. It's amazing. There's nothing more surprising right now than what the Giants are doing offensively.
What do you think about that comment? Idea of the DH in the National League? I didn't like it either, but I too am warming up to it a bit.
Well, it got to a point where the pitchers were so bad offensively that what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you can't lay down a bunt, when you have no prayer of getting a hit, then then you're just a sacrificial lamb. Then you're just spinning your wheels. Then it's just you're hurting the overall show. I'm anti-DH because I like the brand of baseball played in the National League, but that's when pitchers could bunt. That's when pitchers could move runners along. That's when there was such a thing as situational baseball. Now it's all about 9 hitters and stay on that back heel and just rip. And who cares if you strike out the first 3 times? If you hit one out the 4th time, you've had a great day at the yard. So personally, I think I'm okay with the DH at this point. I'm over it.
Eye test wise, just because, I was listening on the radio. What do you think of Webb today? What do you think of his stuff?
I thought he struggled. It was an interesting 6th inning for him. Marty made the point, and you know what? If you look at Logan Webb 2 years ago, he was at the end of the year was getting lit up pretty good.
Yeah.
And then he found another level. And if you listen to him last year, if you said to him, what's the difference, Logan, between this year and last year? One of the things that he pointed to last year, at least, was the addition of Alex Wood and how Wood works so damn fast that it's given Webb a template for doing the exact same thing. And he said he worked really, really fast. Well, Marty pointed out today that his pace in the 6th inning picked up noticeably. Marty tweeted out, he says, someone must have told him, just get the ball and throw it and stop overthinking everything. It worked well, his best inning of the day, and it was an erratic day for Webb. I kind of believe in that.
Yeah.
Get it and throw it. Maintain a fast pace, right? And that's what he did. He maintained a fast pace, and I thought he got into a rhythm. When he starts to, look down, look around, his fielders are, stagnant. Not a good situation. I've always liked pitchers who work fast. And Alex Wood's a great example. If you work fast, good things will happen. Giants used to have a starting pitcher named Billy Swift. He worked exceptionally fast. If you work fast, you get good defense behind you. I think that was a big key today. J Hutch 91 says, I think it's just the start of the season. Pitchers are very slow right now, or they are ready. Just look at the Giants scoring runs. Cubs and Tigers scored a lot, but their opponents were shut out. He's saying for why the Giants are scoring runs right now.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, overall, I think you got to like what you're seeing from the Giants. Jock Peterson's really hot. Belt's cooled off a little bit. They're not the deepest team in the world, but I mean, Peterson got in the mix today. So did Flores. So did Belt. So did Gonzalez. Luis Gonzalez has looked good in this series.
Yeah.
I think he looks good. Estrada's been good. Slater's been good. So, I mean, they're all some of these guys don't have great numbers, but they're contributing. So it's always good when you can get a bunch of guys to contribute and not just have one guy or two guys doing it. So I like the situation they're in right now. Their rotation is deep, and talented. Now without Cobb, they're going to have to kind of see what they got. Their bullpen is loaded. Doval looks tremendous. They don't have an everyday closer, so they're going to kind of play matchup games. That's been working. The matchup games have been working. So I like what I see out of the Giants. And if they can just keep destroying the bad teams, there's so many bad teams that they're going to win 95 games.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I love it. I love it when a team just takes care of business versus these bottom feeder teams. Just so important. I mean, look at the Padres. I mean, looking at the standings a couple of days ago, I think the Giants are in fourth, and Colorado and Padres got off to a decent start. But I mean, if you look at both of their
Colorado's gotten off to a good start, yeah,
but both their run differentials are. I think the Padres might even be negative, and Rockies are maybe +5, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, we're gonna get tested against, of course. I mean, I personally am a little bit afraid of the Brewers. I know we were kind of talking about there's only a few great National League teams. Brewers always scare me just because of their pitching and their bullpen. And then, yeah, I mean, we get the Dodgers soon, and that's going to be an awesome test.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at you look at the National League right now, who are the teams that scare you? I mean, there's just not there's no teams out there that you go, wow, that's going to be a tie. Wait until they play them. The Mets are 12-5, playing 700 ball. Everybody else in the East is under 500. The Cardinals are 9-5. It's a good organization. The Brewers have a good rotation. But Pirates, Cubs, Reds. I mean, Reds are 3-13.
Gross.
And then you got the Dodgers and Giants, and right now Rockies and Padres are running with them, but I don't expect that to continue. Arizona's still a bad team. So, I mean, who's really good in the National League? The Giants, the Dodgers, the Mets. That might be it.
Yeah, and if you're another one of these National League teams and you're having this exact same conversation, like let's say you're the Mets, right? And you're whatever. We're doing Mets talk, and we're having this conversation. I think they would say we're frightened of the Dodgers, right? And justifiably so. But the advantage that the Giants have being in the division with the Dodgers is that no matter how talented they are, the Giants are never like afraid of the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Like we play them too much.
I mean, there's a whole lot of respect, mutual respect, but
yeah.
they don't fear them anymore. That's for sure. I mean, they proved last year that they're on their level.
Yeah.
And this year, I don't know how many people believed it, but this year they're showing it again that they're on LA's level. I'm looking at the American League right now. Toronto's 10-6. The Yankees are 10-6. Tampa's 9-7. So, I mean, you got three pretty decent teams there. First place in the AL Central, the Twins, they're 500. Seattle's gotten off to a nice start. They're 9-6.
Yeah.
Angels are 9-7. there's, I would say probably Angels and Mariners have been the surprise teams in that American League so far. So, right now, a couple, about we're 15, 16 games into the season roughly for most teams, and you're seeing already the kind of the cream of the crop kind of rise. If you ask me, I would say most of the top teams are there. I expect the Braves to rise up a little bit and probably run with the Mets and probably overtake the Mets, to be honest. But, they haven't had Acuna and we'll see. They've gotten off to a little bit of a slow start. But, yeah, Yankees, Yankees, Jays, Rays, Red Sox. I expected that to be a pretty competitive division. I like the White Sox to win the Central. They're 6-9 out of the chute. They'll rectify that. Maybe Seattle's the surprise team in baseball this year. They made a ton of moves in the offseason, and they're off to a good start.
Last year, too. I mean, I kind of liked them last year.
Yeah. So there's that. So we got the Giants winners, we got the Warriors losers, and then the Debo thing. Why don't we, in the last 10 minutes here, finish on some football? It's pretty clear that that there's nothing necessarily new on the Debo thing. But tomorrow is a big day in Ninerland. Why? Wait a second. Turn my mic. Oh. There we go. John Lynch will be addressing the media. If you could ask John Lynch, and this might be a little fun, we could play with this. If you could ask John Lynch one question tomorrow at the presser, what's your one question?
Oh, man.
Do you know how many questions people want to ask him right now?
I almost want to put myself in the mind of Grant. I want to know what Grant Cohn's going to ask him. That's what I want to know. Sheesh. I don't really know. I mean, Larry,
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Yes. How you doing? Larry Krueger from the Krueg Show on YouTube. John, thanks for taking my question. What in the hell happened with Debo Samuel? Kyle loved him. He loved Kyle. He was calling himself the wide back. He was your most valuable player. He's arguably your most popular player. Something happened between then and the end of the year. What has happened with the organization's relationship with Debo Samuel? Why is it that we have multiple indications here in late April as the draft approaches that this is a player who doesn't want to be here anymore? Why, John? Why is that the case?
See, my problem with that, I mean, I've never been in, I've never had the ability to ask those kind of questions. But when I hear you say that, I'm just like, yeah, obviously that's like the best question ever. But like, Lynch isn't going to answer that. Lynch is just going to, I mean,
if he wants to dance, let him dance.
Yeah, I guess that's,
if he wants to answer it, he could say, hey, Larry, you know what? There's a lot of things that we don't want to share right now. There's a lot of things that we're privy to that you guys aren't, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of water under the bridge. There's a lot of communication that's gone on here. There's just a lot here. It's not as easy for me to answer that right now, whatever. But somebody asked that question. You had a player who loved you. You loved him. He's one of the best players in the league. He now wants out. And from some reports, it's not even about what you're offering him. It's not even about his money. So he just wants out. So either the trust is gone, and if so, why? Or why does this player want out? What happened to the relationship, this unbelievable love affair that you've had with Debo Samuel? Why does he want out? Tell me. Shed some light, please.
No, it's true. And,
that's my question.
I think that's a good question. I guess what I want to know is like, and this would never be answered, obviously, but in a hypothetical world where, you do make that trade with Debo and we're in the top half of the draft, what position are you going to be coveting the most? That's kind of what I want to know.
If you trade, so your question is, if you
Yeah.
traded for Debo and you get the 10th pick in the draft,
And
who are you taking 10? Or what are you doing with 10?
Yeah, or like hypothetically in the top half of the draft. Oh,
I'll tell you, I've been doing deep dives on the draft for the last 10 days. So anytime I have free time, and I've been doing a lot of live streams, as you guys all know. So not all my time is on the draft. Some of it's doing live streams and talking Warriors and watching playoff games and watching the Giants and that kind of thing. But outside of that, I've been watching a ton on the draft and reading and kind of just going through my own notes, going through what I thought in September, going through what I thought when I watched the Senior Bowl, kind of going back to my own notes and the people that I've talked to and kind of cross-connecting things and seeing exactly where everybody's workout is. I would say this. If the 49ers make the deal and that deal involves the 10th pick in the draft, I'm not taking a receiver at 10.
No, that's for sure. I just want to know, like, I almost want to know now, like,
who do you want?
Yeah.
Like, what's their biggest need? If you say to me, what's their biggest need? I'll say to you, their biggest need is to get a great player. Doesn't matter if they get a good player, you don't want an okay player who fills a need. They don't need that. They need a great player. Now, what are their needs? These are their needs. If they're not going to have Deebo Samuel, I think they need a dynamic running back. I think that's a primary need. I think they need a speed receiver to open things up underneath. But if you're going to move Deebo, I think you need a real physical receiver as well.
But those are second round type things. I feel like what do you
possibly you may need an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where. Is Alex Mack coming back? Jack Hammer told us he thinks Alex Mack's going to retire.
I know.
So do you go Linderbaum? I wouldn't pick Linderbaum.
We'd have to trade down to like
trade down
or something.
So you might need a center. You might need a tackle. You might need a right guard. I'm not sure. You may need some O-line help, but that's not even a for sure thing because you got Jalen Moore, you got Aaron Banks, you got Colton McKivitz. You have some young offensive linemen, and you don't really have – I mean, you were one game from the Super Bowl. You had Tom Compton. So I don't know if I want to invest in offensive linemen in the first round.
What about secondary help?
You need secondary help.
So what are your thoughts?
Need a free safety.
What do
Maybe
you
need another corner.
Yeah, what do you think about
you need a rusher. I think you need a rusher opposite Bosa. Let's be honest.
I agree with that.
You went with Debo, or you went with D Ford, I should say, and you got a good year out of him, and you rode it to a Super Bowl appearance with Kansas City, and you lost that game. Then he broke down, and now that trade looks really bad. But ultimately, you don't have. Why did the Rams beat you? The Rams beat you because when it came down to the fourth quarter, they put heat on your quarterback with their front four and disrupted his rhythm. And you didn't put any heat on Matthew Stafford, and he beat you. So you could say, well, I need a better nickel corner. I need a better slot corner. I need someone to guard Cooper Kupp. That could be their takeaway. My guess is the way they look at things is they look at it from the front to the back.
Yeah.
It's a rush and cover game. I think if they wind up trading Deebo Samuel for the 10th pick in the draft, they're going to use that pick on Jermaine Johnson from Florida State.
Okay.
And why do I say that? Because they've been big on the Senior Bowl the last few years. That's what Deebo was. Deebo was great at the Senior Bowl. Well, what defensive end dominated Mobile this year? Jermaine Johnson II. The Georgia transfer who finished this year for Florida State. So my guess is if they trade for Deebo and they get a package of picks and they get the 10th pick overall, my guess is they're going to take Jermaine Johnson with that pick at 10.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we've seen from this front office over the past, in the Shanahan-Lynch era is just that's what they're going to do. They're going to start up front. It's just is their organizational philosophy.
And you know what? There's a lot of good wide receivers in that second round. There's a lot of good wide receivers.
I would almost want
round.
to trade that 10 for 2. You think we could, if somebody wants to move up, because I'd like maybe two swings in the first round if possible. That would be nice.
Who do you want? Who do you like later in the first round?
I mean, obviously the center, Linderbaum. I mean,
okay,
we could get him, and then maybe. I'd have to look at the mock depending on.
What if Jermaine Johnson though? And I saw Greg Cosell was on with Ross Tucker, yeah, and he was saying that Jermaine Johnson he thinks is the best pass rusher in this draft.
Yeah,
and it's a good draft for pass rushers. What if you could add a blue chip, all pro type pass rusher with tremendous strength and tremendous talent to Nick Bosa?
You do that,
but now you can dictate to other teams. Now you've got a way to speed up Matthew Stafford. Now you got a way to defend Cooper Kupp because you can put heat on Stafford. So I don't know. I think they look at their D line, and they're pretty stacked on their D line. But are they going to keep Ebukam? Are they going to cut him for cap reasons? There's a lot of questions. So I would say if you said right now, give me your thoughts. Niners are going to do what Thursday night? They're going to do what in the draft? I think they're going to trade Debo. I think they're going to trade him to the Jets. I think they're going to get the 10th pick in the draft. I think they're going to get a lot more than people think. I think they're going to get the 10th pick. I think they're going to get the 2 2s, and I think they're going to get a 3. I think they're going to get that much for Debo, and then I think they're going to take Jermaine Johnson with that 10th pick and wait till the round 2 and hope that Linderbaum or the right receiver. I could see them take Jahan Dotson with one of those high 2s. To love
Dotson.
I could see them take Kenneth Walker. I'll say this.
Walker's
if the 49ers, let's just say the 49ers didn't get a 3rd. Let's just say all they got was the 10th pick and the 2 2s.
Yeah.
And they could turn that 10th pick into Jermaine Johnson, Jahan Dotson from Penn State, and Kenneth Walker the 3rd. I think they're better off than if they had Debo. I really do. I'd rather have Jermaine Johnson, Dotson from Penn State, and Kenneth Walker the 3rd than have Debo.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that. I think they're a better team.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker is better than Breece Hall, don't you think?
I do. But you know what? I don't know how other teams view it.
Yeah.
Breece Hall had a really good year for Iowa State, and he's been a terrific back for a couple of years. And I didn't look at his workout. Maybe his workout was a little better. But from what I've been seeing, most of the mocks, Breece Hall goes in front of Kenneth Walker the 3rd. But I mean, I'd be very happy with Dotson and Walker replacing Debo and then using that 10th pick or trading it back, but using that 10th pick if I am on Jermaine Jefferson. And now you've got a major league pass rush and you're replacing Debo in round 2. And you got the rest of the draft to fill whatever needs you have. So
yeah. Hey, yeah. I mean, that sounds awesome. I'm so stoked. I can't believe how exciting this draft's turned into when we thought we were going to have nothing.
Well, it looked like it was going to be a total snoozer, and now it's going to be interesting.
I'd say the Niners are the story of the draft just because are the Steelers going to take Malik Willis or whatever, but the quarterbacks aren't there. This is not a great group of quarterbacks. Nothing that's super crazy.
No, but that was another thing. I did do a breakdown of the quarterbacks. The big one is who's going to be the top quarterback drafted between Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis. And I think it's probably going to be Kenny Pickett. I prefer Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis has a lot more upside than Kenny Pickett. But I kind of like Howell, the North Carolina quarterback.
I like Corral, actually.
You do? You like Corral?
Yeah.
I like Howell. And then on day 3, I like Skylar Thompson from K-State and Nick Starkel from San Jose State. But I kind of like Howell. I think Howell, he had the best deep ball accuracy in Mobile, and he's had a couple 100-yard days. He's a pretty good runner. I think he's got good velocity on his fastball. I kind of like Howell from North Carolina.
I got scarred a little bit just because he disappointed in a couple of the big matchups. Malik Willis really got me because I bet on him to win the Heisman at 80-1.
Right.
And I was doing the calculations in my head. I was like going through the schedule. I was like, oh my God, like he's going to run through the schedule, be undefeated. And then they're going to be playing Ole Miss and Matt Corral, who's likely also going to be a Heisman candidate. If he, goes off and they beat Ole Miss, like, oh, this could happen. They just ended up, losing a couple games along the way. He played horrible versus Ole Miss. I don't think he even had a touchdown, a couple picks, and he's raw. He's raw. But.
Dan Coach Emilio says, I like the safety for Michigan State, Dax Hill, for a late first or early second. Well, Danny, that's a good call. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school, and a lot of people like him. He's probably going to go in the first round. I saw that the other day. Matthew Timony says, Spartan up. He likes the idea of Kenneth Walker III. All right, that does it for us. Good Sunday, good week of shows. We went basically every single day this week. We had Giants post-game. We had Warriors post-game. I'm back with you tomorrow, I believe, after Giants Brewers. We'll do a little Giants Brewers post-game. And we got a full slate. Draft week. We'll have a lot of NFL draft stuff throughout the week. Should be a real fun week. And that's going to do it for us. Right, good stuff. Thanks to everybody who participated. I'm loving doing this. And, definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Click that notification bell so you can be alerted when we're doing shows. Love the sponsors. Love all you guys. Thanks to Len. Thanks to Ryan. Thanks to Danny. Thanks to Casey Bateman. And have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.